Hello and welcome back to another episode of Entertainment Roadmap. Today I have a very special guest. I have Maisy Kay with us, who is actually a music artist. So this is a new pathway for us. So we're so excited. You're our first musical guest. You're so
Oh,
welcome.
oh my gosh, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be the first.
No problem. We're so excited to speak with you today. And I've been listening to your EP and can't pick my favorite song. I think it might be I can't say it.
Incandescent.
Yes, yes. I don't know. Or All In. I'm like so So I was oops, sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. Incandescent is my personal favorite, so you have good.
So good. I love it. And while I was listening, I was just wondering, how did you get into music and singing?
So I think I've always been in music to some extent or another. When I was a little kid, I could sing before I could talk. My mom has very embarrassing recordings of me singing Baa Baa Black Sheep, but I can't speak yet, so it's just gibberish. And I was always dressing up as Disney princesses and serenading my dogs at the time. So I think everyone always knew I was going to do something with singing involved. But it wasn't until I was around 10 that I started getting into it more professionally. I wrote a musical for my school and they put it on for their summer play. And I got in like a little local newspaper. It was the biggest thing in the world to me at the time. So I think that was sort of the moment where things took a shift into a more professional lane, if you will.
Yeah, no, I feel like writing a musical is not an easy task. So it's kind of crazy that that's what got you into the profession. Like, I feel like you just jumped right in. That's like
Well,
a,
it wasn't good. I was 10. Like it wasn't like Wicked or Phantom of the Opera. We're not like
but I feel like for being 10 to have like that discipline and to be able to sit down and do that, that's pretty impressive.
it was fun. I It was about a dragon and a pirate. I got to play the dragon. I was very excited about it. But yeah, I think that really inspired me to try and pursue like songwriting and just writing in general a bit more professionally.
Yeah, no, that's a really cool story. And going into that songwriting, do you have are any of your lyrics out of all of them? What is the most meaningful one to you?
Oh, it's hard to pick, but the one that just instantly came to mind was it's from Incandescent actually. It's wish I could hug my inner child and tell her she's all right.
Yes, when I was listening to that song, I wanted to bring that up to you because I love that line. I feel like it just captures emotions for so many people because I think we all feel that way and you put it into words so perfectly.
Thank you. Yeah, that means a lot to me. I think we often forget that we were all just little kids wanting to be loved at one point, and I can be quite hard on myself. And I think that was an important line, not about love, but just about concept of self and healing and growth and childhood trauma. There's so much in that one little line, and it's just sort of saying like, you can be okay now. You don't have to keep being so fight or flight. Like you don't have to keep being this way that you've been your whole life because it was the only way you knew how to survive. Like you can let go now. And I like to think I'm singing it to a younger me. So I'm glad you really like that lyric. I think that must be my favorite. It's
Yeah,
definitely the most personal.
that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And so, kind of in exciting news, you're getting ready to go on tour with Tori Kelly. Congratulations. That's so exciting. How are you preparing for this tour?
So it's a lot of exercise, which I don't really like exercise. So my gym teachers would be very impressed to see all the stuff I do now because I would find any excuse to miss PE as a kid. I hated it. So I go to the gym multiple times a week just to do like strength training, and we do choreo multiple times a week where it's like dancing and we work through the set list. I go to a vocal coach and make sure my throat is in as good shape as it can be for the show, which I'm struggling with like a little bit of acid reflux right now. It's probably my own fault because I love spicy food too much. So I'm trying on my own personal life to cut back on spicy food, which is hard because I love it. But you have to be very disciplined which is why I have such a respect for Taylor Swift being on tour for so long. Because tour, it's fun, but it is hard work, and you do have to be disciplined and have like strict schedules and routines that you lock into. So to do it for that long, she is very impressive.
Right, right. I mean, I don't know how Taylor is still got like I just think of that and I'm like this like you said, the strain it must be on you and just being able to perform for that long and not really being home for a while. I feel like that's really difficult.
It must be. This tour is going to be the longest I've been away from home, apart from obviously me like moving from the UK to America. My last tour was just a month, so this is more like 3. So I'm nervous, optimistic, but definitely nervous. I've never been away from my cat for that long. My cat loved my life, so we'll see how I do. But yeah, you have to be really diligent.
Right. And I know that the tour is coming to Philadelphia, which I'm from New Jersey. So I'm thinking of getting myself a ticket and coming out to see the show. So I'm
Oh
very
my
excited.
gosh, you should. I'd love for you to come.
I want to so badly. So I think I'm going to work on that this weekend. And
Hey.
yeah, I'm very excited. And I think it's so cool that you came from the UK to the US. So you kind of just mentioned that, but what was it like making that big move?
My cat decided he wanted to answer that question. Did you hear him meow?
I didn't, but
I
I
didn't pick him up. That was so loud here. Shoo. I
my
tried.
dogs will bark and other people on the other end are like, I don't hear it. And I'm like, but they're so loud. So Zoom must like cancel it
That's nice because that was a loud meow. Oh my gosh. Okay. Sorry, the change from moving. It was tough. I mean, it wasn't, everyone always talks about like the cultural shock of moving, and I don't feel like that was as big of a problem for me because we traveled a lot growing up. I'd been to America before. I knew of it. Like I knew what it was like. Been to LA multiple times. So that part was okay. Culturally, what I think it was okay. I think I moved at the right age where it wasn't that important. But I think the thing I struggled with was just the lack of social growth in those teenage years. Like I was pulled out of school and I had to do online schooling because apparently American schools, or at least the one I went to, it would fail you automatically if you couldn't show up a certain amount of days in class. And I was in the recording studio. So I'm like, well, this is never going to work. Like I have to be out sometimes. I just do. I can't just be sat in a classroom. So I did online schooling. But because of that, I just didn't really hang out with anyone really my own age, and I sort of missed out on that part. So I think that was really tough. All my friends either lived back in England or were 20 years older than me now, you know? So it's just sort of a weird phase of life to navigate.
Yeah, and I feel like your late teens, early 20s are like that anyway. So then add in that added stress of moving and the online school, and that must have been really difficult.
Yeah, it was quite lonely looking back. I played a lot of video games, so that kept me occupied, but I definitely do wish I'd gotten to be around more people my own age, I think.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. But going into the recording studio and all of your music, what was the process like when you wrote Wonderlust the Dawn EP?
So what's funny about Wanderlust is it was never planned. I never planned to do an EP. I never planned to even actually release the music. I had originally written it just because I was feeling it and I really wanted to share it with the person who I'd written them about, who inspired all the music. And it was supposed to be sort of like a private, intimate gift, if you will.
Mhm.
And then I think after I wrote Technicolor Honeymoon, I was like, oh man, like these songs are really good. I can't keep this private. Like this is too, the quality is at a point where I feel like my team will be upset if I just shelf this. If I go, okay, glad you like it, no one can ever hear it, you know? So by the time we reached that decision that we were like, okay, we need to put the songs out there good, the EP was already there. All the songs had already been written. So I never wrote for an EP. I wrote because I was just falling in love. And then by the time we decided to make an EP, we had the whole track list already. So it kind of just worked out.
I think that's why the EP kind of called to me so much because I almost feel like it has like that personal touch in it because obviously it was meant for such a personal situation, but then you kind of ended up, it was like a gift to the fans in the end, which I
It
think is really
was.
cool. And
I
I
think so too.
yeah, and you, since you just wrote it because you were feeling it, I think it was probably some of your most authentic self coming out. And I think that is awesome. I think that's a really cool story.
Thank you. I think so too. It's definitely the most authentic stuff that I've made. And I say quite a lot. I wasn't writing it trying to be anything, you know, like I wasn't trying to be catchy or be a great lyricist or a great vocalist or make radio. I just wrote what I was feeling, and that was it. It got to be as simple and fun as that. So
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that story.
thank you.
And do you have it? I'm sure you do. What goals do you have as a singer-songwriter?
So I think one of my goals has always been, well, to tour, to go on a tour, which I get to do now, which is so fun. This is my first ever world tour. I've never toured anywhere other than the US before. It's my second tour ever. So I think that's always been a goal. Another one, it always would have been amazing to just maybe chart on something, which I think is why I kind of lost my mind when we did chart on iTunes, and I kind of just couldn't believe it. I still kind of can't believe it. I was checking everyone's phones and like refreshing every like couple seconds, being like, are you sure? So you sure it's not an error? I feel like if we just swipe up enough times, it's gonna go away. So that's another goal. I think one day it would be amazing to have my own tour. I think that would be really cool, and like get to have a band and maybe, I don't know, maybe some dancers. We're thinking like down the line now, but that would be a dream for sure. I'd love to have my own tour and get to meet people that way. And I'd
Yeah.
love to have an album one day too, like a proper album. I think that'd be really cool.
Yes, I will be on the lookout for an album and a tour one day. But what did I wanted to comment on something that you shared. There was a really so one of your goals. Oh, the charting. I think like as a child, the iTunes charts meant so much to me. I'd always go and check. So I feel like seeing that happen and you're on there must have been so surreal.
Oh my God, it was. Like I said, I just couldn't believe it. And it was, it's a funny story because we charted on the US charts and my phone is a UK phone. So I couldn't actually see it. So
Oh
I
my,
had to be like Googling what songs are charting on iTunes right now and then checking other people's phones because it wouldn't actually show it on mine. So I was just
oh
checking
my
everyone else, like, are you guys sure? I'm not seeing, are you guys, is it real? Yeah, oh, I can't get over it. I mean, I used to be on iTunes all the time when I was a kid. So yeah, I think 10-year-old me would be doing backflips right now if she knew how to.
and kind of talking on the same topic as a tour, do you have a dream venue that you would like to play one day?
Ooh. Oh, that's a good question. I I don't know, I don't know that I have a dream venue, but I can say that I have like a dream place that
Okay.
I'd like to perform. I would really love to get to perform somewhere like Birmingham, which I know is not that exciting, but it's the closest place to where I grew up.
Oh, okay.
I've never played a show in England, and I think it would be lovely to like have all my friends and family that I grew up with come and see, and everyone to just know that I was there and I got to play in the closest place really that I can think of to my hometown. I think that would be really special.
Yeah, and I think hometown shows are so special even for the fans witnessing it. I don't know. I was always very into like One Direction, Halsey. So like when I would go to like Halsey's hometown show, I would be like, "Oh my goodness, like this is such a special moment." So I feel like even everyone watching you would be able to feel that energy. That's such a really cool thing.
Yeah, and I'd love for my auntie and uncle to see it too. Like a shout out to them. They took over looking after the house and our dogs when we had to move. We couldn't bring our dogs with us.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
Health reasons, they wouldn't have been happy out here. But
Yeah.
they have very diligently looked after, yeah, that house and our dogs for as long as they lived. And I would love for them to get to see me perform. They don't travel outside of the country a lot. So I would love to just get to do a hometown show. I think that that would be everything. That's a dream.
That would be so sweet. And then what advice do you have to give those who want to break into the music industry?
Yeah, okay. So, and not everyone is going to like this advice, and that is fine, but it is what feels the truest to me after doing it for as long as I have. The biggest piece of advice I can think of, and the thing that if I could go back 10 years and really sit myself down and tell myself, I would say, do it for you and no one else, because the minute you start doing it for a label head or the Spotify charts or whoever, the minute you start caring about what other people think and what it needs to be is where that's when you lose yourself and it stops being fun. And I say that because it happened to me. I went through a period where I was just trying to make a hit and trying to make what I thought a label would like and trying to break. I was trying to break into the music industry. And it stopped being fun. It just got scary and hard, and it felt like nothing I did was good enough. And it's not a good mental place to be in. So it's not the best advice. It's not like business industry tricks, but I can say if you do it for you, which is what I did with the CP, I went back to making music for me and not caring about what it was going to be, what it was going to sound like. Is it catchy enough? Is it short enough? None of that mattered. And I had the most fun I've had in years doing it. And I feel more confident about myself and my music than ever because I stopped trying to be what everyone else maybe wanted or what I assumed they wanted. Do it for you. Keep it fun. As long as it's fun, it'll never be a waste of time.
No, I think that's amazing advice because the whole time you were talking, I was like, I can even relate that to me with the podcast. When I try to make it like get the most followers, get the most listeners, it becomes almost like a chore and it becomes very
Yeah.
mentally draining. But when you do it for yourself and it's just a whole other feeling. And I think your EP, like you said, is proof of that because you wrote it for yourself, for no one else, and you produced this phenomenal track list. So I think that's really awesome. Thank you for that advice.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad it resonated with you.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to resonate with a lot of our listeners. And Maisy, here at Entertainment Roadmap, we like to do a hot seat. Are you willing to sit in the hot seat and answer some rapid fire questions?
Sure.
Perfect. Are you a Spotify or Apple Music user?
Apple Music.
All-time favorite book?
The House on the Cerulean Sea.
Favorite comfort food?
Katsu curry.
Ooh, that sounds good. And dogs or cats?
Dogs, but my cat over dogs and cats.
Right, I feel like that makes so much sense.
My cat is the ultimate pet.
Right, I have a dog, but my sister has a cat, and I love her cat, but it's always my dog on top. So I get that mentality. And do you have any words that you live by?
I'm trying lately to do lead with love.
Oh, I love that. That's so sweet. Well, Maisie, thank you so much for joining us today. I had such a great time speaking with you, and I think everyone should go listen to Wanderlust the Dawn EP and go catch you on tour with Tori Kelly.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure talking to you.